Welcome everybody to another Strange Normal. We talk about the stranger things that happen in your normal life to give you a biblical understanding of what's going on. And there is a lot going on right now tonight. And so we are glad you are here. And forgive us as we go through a new set and I blunder through the keys because there's a lot going on right now. And we're going to have a very exciting show for you because we got two things lined up. We got, and you've probably already seen in the title, but before we get into that tonight, I'm going to introduce our guests tonight, one of which is right here in the room with us. So I want to say first, hi, Wendy. How are you?
Hi, doing good.
Very
Glad
good.
to be here.
Yeah, so Wendy's in Tennessee right now. She's doing some work just down the road, and so we decided, we need to have a little talk about what she has found. So she has a presentation for us tonight. As well as, if you want to talk a little bit about that, it's fine. Otherwise, I'm going to go in.
Sure. Yeah. So, just briefly, watching a lot of shows with my boys, just kind of learning discernment and seeing like red flags go off in my own head as we're watching things and wondering, hey, should my kids be watching this? What is it teaching them? So I've been just gathering the clips of things that I've seen and compiled quite a bit. So I'm like, hey, Brad, we should probably talk about this. Parents need to know what's out there, so...
Very good, very good. And we have another presentation tonight with our two best friends. Let me see if I can bring them up here. Eric and Matthew. Guys, how are you tonight?
I'm well.
Eric, how are you?
I'm great.
You guys
have a weird juxtaposition what Wendy's going to talk about and then what we're going to start out with. It's kind of, I don't know how this is going to go.
Not related.
Right. Well, that's why we're going to get some more of the serious stuff out of the way. Well, not that it's not serious. It is serious what they're doing, coming after our children and children's media. But I suppose it's more of the headline topic, something that everybody, I'm sure, has already heard about by now, and that is what's happening over in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And our good friend Eric here has been keeping me posted. He's sending me messages back and forth in our own little private chat, and I thought, wow, this guy, he's pretty much a subject matter expert at this point, so we got to bring him on, and he's got to do a little presentation. So Eric is going to be doing that tonight, and we're all going to enjoy it.
Very good.
By the way, I like the gray shirt, the gray button down. I mean, this was uncoordinated. It's kind of, if I had picked a darker shade, we would have been totally matching. Next time, let me know, buddy. I don't mind.
Very good. All right. Well, I think, Eric, you're up first. So let me know when you want me to change slides, and I'll throw those in here.
Okay, this is my first time coordinating something like this, so I'm going to have to... Okay. Well, yeah, I guess the first one is pretty self-explanatory. Unless, if you haven't been living under a rock, this is what's going on in the world. And this is pretty much dominating the news cycle, at least from what I can see. And that's something in and of itself to keep note of. Wendy, you mentioned unrelated. And as we know as Christians, nothing is unrelated when it comes to Satan's deception. So while we're talking about all this in each segment, especially this segment, remember what they're not talking about. If everybody's focused on one thing, the rest of the world all of Satan's plans did not just stop. So I guess you can move on to the second one. I don't know how many in the audience. It seems like we got a pretty adult audience, and obviously everybody in this room was alive when 9/11 happened. But I've been getting some, I was in high school, and the vibes that I'm getting off of this I'm noticing essentially exact parallels between what the atmosphere was between now and 9/11, like the conversations that were going on and the emotions. And so this is something that I found in an article that talks about how you can read it, that this is kind of the process by which you can get groups of people to turn off their reason and get them to do what you want them to do. And well, should I read it, or is it just
go ahead? Read it.
Summarize.
Please.
Well, I mean, Satan likes to play with emotions, right? God is about logic. God is about reason. Satan's about emotions, and the most powerful emotion is our fear response. That's a survival instinct. And so when something like this happens, the first thing is to use that to manipulate emotions. The rapidly changing facts, and I'd like to just state this up front. as I go through this, I do not at all believe that what happened in Israel did not happen. It absolutely did happen. There's stuff going on over there. That's not what I'm asserting. But we need to be careful before jumping to conclusions, and when we analyze information. You can move to the next slide.
Yeah, can I just talk a little bit, Eric?
Yeah. You guys want to jump in?
I thought it was interesting. I don't know anything. I don't really watch the news much, but I was watching last night just some random reels or videos that were, just kind of appeared, and they talked a little bit. I thought, oh, okay, that's what happened. And I saw some things about Israel and and how the neighboring country, or not a country, killed a lot of people in a music fest, and it played on your emotions a lot. I don't really know. And then I saw another video, which I saved, that I thought it was from the completely opposite angle. I thought, well, that's viable too. And so, I mean, in other words, they were completely different scenarios that were the same scenario, but they were played from two different angles. And so I thought, wow, if both those were presented on the news, I would have a hard time understanding what the truth was. And obviously the news is going to present one side of the issue. And so I because that's our news recently. And so I'm really curious what you're going to say here, because I don't know what is going on or what to believe about this.
Well, I love photography, and that's essentially what all photography. I mean, you can take beautiful pictures in the middle of like a wasteland, but the only thing that you see, because that's what I want to show you, is a beautiful flower or something. You have no idea. That's why context matters. Getting as much information, as much context matters. And these are basically our choices when it comes to making our opinions or our beliefs about what happened. The first one, things are exactly as they are presented to you. I don't know if you unironically believe that. I don't know how much I can help you, because it's just, especially these past few years, it doesn't matter what source it is, left, right, Fox, CNN, I do not believe that's the option to go with. Number two, nothing you are shown or told is the truth. It's easy for me to go down that road, but that's not what I believe is happening here. I believe it's, honestly, number four, but let's get to number three. The event did happen, but not as you're being shown and told. So as someone who, I knew the government was lying to me while I was working for the government, and I'm sure Matt was the same way when we were both in the Navy. I believe that number four, there's a mix of things that we are being shown that are true and things that we're being shown that are false. But we have to remember that unless any of us were actually like in Israel, the only information we are getting is through video, print, and voice. So we know things like you just mentioned, Brad, even before things like AI or deep fakes or things like that, those things could be manipulated, but by just simply framing, just leaving certain things out of frame. So we just have to keep in mind that whatever we're being told, like everything we discuss in the show, we discuss the narrative. Let's talk about UFOs. What is the narrative there? Why are they talking about what they're talking about? And why are they not talking about what they're not talking about? And so just prudence and discernment is what we need here. Right. Because our next, our first clip regarding this,
you want me to play it?
Tell us why. Yep.
CEO Council.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
What?
Dangerous.
So I should have set this up. Who this guy is? So, as a former mayor of Chicago, former chief of staff for Barack Obama. For those not familiar with American politics, he's of the Democrat Party. But all of that is like an amazing sentence, and especially the end, because you could do things. Can you play it again?
Yeah, I can play it. I
think that's worth a replay. Pay attention to the end here.
Yeah.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
So I don't know how many people know this, but the Patriot Act that was enacted shortly after 9/11 was like basically created in the 1996. Joe Biden had a hand in creating that, and it was just sitting on a shelf. And then as soon as 9/11 happened, it got passed, I think, almost unanimously. And that's just, not to take a side in earthly politics, but what he said there, be on the lookout for and think in your mind, like, what could Satan use this catastrophe, because it is a catastrophe. I mean, it's horrible what's going on, and if even half the reports are true, it's just horrifying. But what is Satan going to use? How can he twist this to fit his great deception, which is going forward? That's what, as Christians, we need to keep in mind and be directing. That's the point of this show, is to get you to think about. It's not to tell you what to think. It's not to make you completely paranoid, but it's to get you to think for yourself and use your God-given reason in the context of where we are in Bible prophecy.
Yeah.
This next clip is also well. You guys, I'm rambling here. You guys must have comments.
I've got something to say. Just
Yes,
that
please,
first one,
Wendy.
like the 1, 2, 3, 4. I would definitely be a mix at the bottom. I believe it's true, but how much of it and what and where? You definitely have to have that discernment. You can't believe everything that you see, but keep watching. Don't just turn a blind eye. And then also, how he's talking about, like, you have to wait for the right opportunity to use these things that you can't otherwise do. Like, how much is that like Satan, right? I'm sure he has all these schemes. He's like, oh, time's right. Pull that book out.
That's right.
Time to put this in action. So, yeah, the great points, Eric.
Matt, I know you have something to say.
Oh, no, I hate talking. I don't want to give my opinion on anything. One of the things that I found most alarming about this whole thing is how it was being presented as a surprise attack, that no one saw this coming. When I've seen posted by Hamas, the group that perpetrated the attack, they were mobilizing, and they made, like, these days, I don't know if everybody knows this, but terrorists, they make like 4K videos of their training, like their mobilizations, even really nasty stuff like executions, but it's all like HD footage at this point. And they released some HD footage of them in armored vehicles. They had all of their weaponry. They're marching up and down the streets. They're being cheered on. And at the very end of the clip, very ominously, it just said soon. And before you know it, there was an attack. So they're putting the information out. They're being very bold about it. To me, it's hard to believe that nobody in the intelligence community knew that this was going to happen. And just like we were seeing from Rahm Emanuel, maybe when they see something like this about to happen, they go, okay, here comes an opportunity because we know a crisis is about to arise. What can we enact through this crisis? And the death toll just doesn't seem to affect them. They can get up and they can cry all the crocodile tears they want, but at the end of the day, I do not believe that politicians have our best interests in heart, unfortunately. Maybe there are some. You can go by a case-by-case basis, but I would say just looking at it holistically, no. There's very few people who actually want to serve the people.
Yeah, and the initiations that they do are all pagan. They all go back to ancient Babylon, that before was ancient Egypt and Sumer, and that's who's running the world. So if we think about that in that context, the horror that's going on from Satan's perspective, it's not horrific enough. So we have to keep that. It's not a nice thing to think about, but we can't shy away from the fact that this is the world we're living in, because this is how God told us, how God's word tells us it is, right? Satan is allowed right now to have a certain amount of authority to enact his plans to an extent. But we know that he won't be allowed to take things as far as he wants to, thankfully, because of Jesus Christ is ultimately in control. So, but where this could potentially go, people are already talking about this is a monumental thing. So let's play clip 5.
Okay. Just looking at the chat real quick, people are saying they had a connection issue, and I wasn't watching the chat. I will be better at that. We have about 80 concurrent, and don't forget to hit that like button, because you want to keep this going out to as many people as possible. So make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already as well. This is the next clip.
The skies over Gaza are filled with rockets and missiles flying in both directions. Incoming and outgoing fire. In the Israeli town of Ashkelon, north of the Gaza Strip, Hamas rockets continue to cause destruction.
Ooh.
Israel has called up hundreds of thousands of reservists as it prepares the next stage of its retaliation. At least one government minister has joined the troops to avenge what he calls Israel's 9/11.
This is not going to be another circle. We're going to chase and hunt each and every militant of Hamas. We're going to chase and hunt their leaders. And we will fight until the end against them, and we will be victorious, not just for us, but for the sake of the civilized world.
A ground offensive by Israeli forces looks likely. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his country to prepare for a long and difficult war that he says will reshape the Middle East.
That kind of speaks for itself. I mean, whatever comments you guys have.
Yeah, it seems very brazen to say that this conflict is going to reshape the Middle East, especially when it's being framed as something that's just, there are these radicals in a very, very small pocket of the area, and this is what they're hoping to come in and crush and suppress. But he's saying it's going to reshape the entire Middle East.
That's what I thought was interesting, too. Because I don't know if you've seen a map, but I saw a map the other night. I didn't have one here uploaded, but it's Gaza, is it, that they're fighting against?
Yeah, they call it the Gaza Strip because it's literally a strip of land.
And they're right between the water and the rest of the country. And so they're kind of, I don't understand. They're kind of...
they're surrounded by Israel and then the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So, but then there's the West Bank on Israel's east. And, you know, what's interesting is to talk, involving the whole Middle East, there's been reports that the Taliban asked Iran for permission to go through their land to join the fight. Israel has evidently also launched airstrikes against Syria now because there is some Iranian minister who was traveling there. So it's just, when he says the Middle East, I don't doubt it, that this is not just going to be confined to the borders of Israel. This is going to, this is my personal belief, that this is going to be much broader in scope and much longer lasting than even most people think now.
Yeah. Yeah, it just reminds me of last year in June when the Pope said that as far as he's concerned, World War III has already begun.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, they like to kind of show their hand, and I think it's that. Brad, I've mentioned that on the show. You can't be that surprised by that. Your eyes
Still
looked down
alarming.
when I said it. It is alarming, but it shows this is what Satan's pawns want to do. They want to possess this ability to have premonitions and to prophesy, and they want to be authoritarian about what they're saying. So they come out with these big, bold statements, and it might make the average person go, what? It can't be that bad. But if you're part of a group who is making moves out of the public sight, then yeah, you can call it how it is because you know what's going to play out ultimately.
Yeah. Interesting too how he says, like, we won't stop until they're all gone. Like, is that possible? I mean, I don't know. Really bold statements for sure, but
I want to reach out and say just real quick, thank you so much, Christina Howard, for the super chat. She says, hit the like button. That's super important because it does reach more people if we do hit this like button. And this is an important topic I think we need to talk about for many reasons, not just because of what the current events are, but because of also what the truth is about Israel. And we're going to get to that eventually here. But I think there's much more that we're going to touch on. So go ahead, Eric. Did we lose Eric?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muted. Next clip. Yeah, that leads right into the next clip.
Okay.
A founding member and leader of Hamas has allegedly called for a global jihad on Friday the 13th. Now, the original video has been taken off YouTube, but apparently he asked for all Muslims around the world to fight and be martyrs, asking for their souls to be sacrificed for Palestine. This is especially concerning as after Hamas attacked Israel, in New York City there was hundreds of Palestinian supporters right outside our own U.S. Armed Forces recruiting station.
Palestine will be free. Our resistance stormed illegal settlements and paraglided across colonial borders.
But not only in NYC, but all the way across the country in San Francisco, California, all the way down in San Diego in Southern California, and back up to Kirkland, Washington, across the country in Chicago, Illinois, over to Dearborn, Michigan. And it's not just US cities, as this is footage from Sydney, Australia. All the way over to London in the UK, where their police could not control the demonstrations. And Germany saw the same scuffles between police and Hamas supporters. And even above our own borders, Montreal and Toronto, Canada had thousands show up. Now, it's one thing for people to march in the streets to show their support of a terrorist attack, but it's another thing to demonstrate in nearly every major US city or city in the entire world as thousands of people that will celebrate what happened to Israel, not to mention the citizens of their own country, which is especially concerning where their leader is broadcasting a specific date that they must sacrifice themselves to attack their enemies. Because as Ezra Levant in Canada points out, these aren't just any random citizens. These are people that fly 737s for Air Canada, the same plane that goes to Tel Aviv, by the same guy that goes on social media to post very angry things about Israel. Now, it appears Air Canada was notified of their pilot's Instagram account and has taken him out of service.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, so, and just to see, so you can see, when you look through time, you get a better, when we're in the moment, we get emotional, and that's when we just get blinded to everything else. But if you look back in time, how are all these people all over the world in all these different countries away from their homeland? What happened after 9/11? The longest war in United States history that destabilized the entire Middle East, that whole refugee crisis, Syrian refugees, and everybody just letting, essentially the erasure of borders. We know that we're moving toward a one world government, a government that, wants to combine the power of the state with religious power, the mark of the beast, it's talked about in Revelation. How do you do that? You remove national boundaries. This is actually a big concern right now. They're talking about the Israel attack in the context of the United States and the southern border, and they don't know who's coming in, and it's like chaos is how you get people. You need to get people, if things are working, then you're not going to get them to abandon a system. You're going to say, hey, we want to introduce this new system. They're going to be like, no, everything's working fine. But if you create chaos, eventually people will get so afraid that they will just latch on to, that's one of the first slides that we had, they'll latch on to anything that you offer them. We know we're expecting that from the UFO angle. Maybe that's how Satan will manifest, as these advanced beings that come down and say, hey, we have a better way, we have a solution. But I wanted to share a scripture. This is not all doom and gloom. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So this is what, we're supposed to watch. Yes, horrible things are going to happen and continue to happen, but we don't have to be afraid of them. And we need to remember that and help others to understand that as best as we can. So anybody else have any thoughts?
No. Wow. That was an incredible clip there. Someone in the chat, Rita, was asking, where's that clip from? And I think Matthew already answered it. You're on it, Matthew. It is from the Decoy Voice. I think it was a YouTube channel. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. It was good commentary on his part, so we thought we would include that. The alarming part too about what they were showing is Europe, especially having these things. He mentioned specifically that London had these riots that couldn't be controlled. If you look at the timeline, the amount of, terror attacks that are related to Islam that have been perpetrated, it actually takes place much more frequently in Europe. And that's because the situation with the EU is that they've accepted a lot of people, migrants is what they're doing. There's always been these wars and destabilization in the Middle East, so they've opened up pathways for people to come in on visas and be in their country. And the potential that people have made it through the cracks. I mean, we already know that it's happened. They've come over from the other countries and they've committed terror in there. I think it's something to take seriously, especially for Friday. I mean, there are some mobilizations taking place, but as Eric said, we're not meant to have a spirit of fear. I think it's important to know these things, to make the sound judgments, because ultimately we don't want to put God to the test. Now, if you know there's some crazy type of a rally happening downtown tomorrow, it's best to not go downtown.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I just want to mention that too, real quick, and I want to acknowledge Goku. Thank you so much. I want to call you Go. What is that?
Rogu.
Rogu. Did I say Goku?
You said Goku.
Sorry, Rogu. Oh man, I feel so bad. Thank you for your super chat. I really do appreciate it. This is how this functions, and we appreciate everything you guys do out there to help this continue. This is important stuff because I believe as we get further and further closer to the end of time, it's going to be important not to go to the big events, to the I had so much fun as a kid going to these amusement parks, even though all those games are just set up to take your money. I had so much fun, and it's embedded in my mind that those rides that are absolutely terrifying for more than one reason, it was fun to go down there and walk around. But the things where the people are the most, that's where we have to be very careful, because that's what are going to be targeted at the end. And I think we're getting a taste of that if that starts up here. I don't know if it's going to start up tomorrow, but it's important to keep an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Put it on your radar.
Certainly.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I would say it's alarming for sure. It's okay, Matthew. But, like he was saying, there's definitely fear involved when you see things going on in the world, but Revelation says it's going to be the worst time in the world, in the history of the world before Jesus comes back. So, I mean, not to be insensitive, but buckle up, it's just starting. And when you feel that fear, like that's what God's there for. He tells you to call on him. Don't go anywhere else. Don't just, harbor your fear and hold on to it. Give it to him, and, he'll take it from you, and he'll give you the peace that he promises. So something to remember as
if Satan was allowed to take the reins with no checks, it would be terrifying. But remembering that God is in control and that ultimately he's going to stop. I mean, he's going to cut the days short because, well, like you said, Wendy, if he didn't, it would be nobody would survive. So that's what his word says. So, but he's in control, and it's easy to forget. That's the thing. Satan wants to get us so emotional and so fearful that we forget what our logical brain knows and what his word says. So that's, every day be in the word, even if it's just a chapter or something, praying every day, because when things get really bad, this is bad. It's going to, when things get really bad, it's going to be too late to build that relationship that we're going to need to carry us through. So speaking of looking in the past, next slide. This one's just going to be the intro. Going further back before 9/11, this parallels World War II. Do we have anybody in the audience who was alive for Pearl Harbor?
That would be interesting. Yeah.
The next slide is very interesting. I knew that I knew in general the statistic, but not. I forget the website. Oh, it's a Gallup poll. Conducted in 1939, and the last line there is very interesting. 84% of Americans were opposed to sending troops to fight against Germany. Mm-hmm. So this is when Germany's going into Poland, obviously before Pearl Harbor. And then in between now and the next slide, Pearl Harbor happens. And now we move to slide 9. One vote in all the U.S. Congress votes to not go to war. And then we can move to the.
We got the story of it.
We can go to the next slide.
Okay.
I think the ending of here it is.
Well,
yes, the beginning part. Her no vote was met with a chorus of hisses and boos. So that leads right into this next clip here that I've got.
Here's Senator Ed Markey. Again, another liberal lunatic nutbag. Is it bad enough yet? Are people waking up? I don't know. He was speaking at a rally of probably a lot of Democrats. And he starts talking about de-escalation after Israel was just brutally attacked. I want you to listen to the response in the crowd. Check this out.
There must be a de-escalation of the current violence. The United States should...
Wow.
Joe said it right. Just look at his face. He's so used to going out in front of Democrat, liberal, kooky groups, spouting the talking points, guys, right? And the occupation, tax the rich. And everybody goes, ah, the white patriarchy, ah, de-escalate, what? He didn't even know how to respond. He didn't have a backup talking point. Someone tweeted out this morning, this Wall Street account I read. It was a fascinating tweet. Key, you'll enjoy this one. The guy, he said it right. He goes, the libs are all confused right now, folks. Wait, for a second. I'm going to get to this spot in a segment. They're confused right now because libs don't think for themselves. They're like the Borg in Star Trek. They think with a hive mind. And here's the thing. They don't know what to think. Because the traditional liberal talking heads who've now seen their own families, some of them killed or friends of them killed in Israel, are now like, hey, listen, maybe those end the occupation talking points were stupid. And the libs are like, wait, you've told me to say that for years. What do I say now? They don't know, right? They don't know. They're going. The Wall Street account was hilarious. He's like, they are genuinely confused. They're saying what they've been told to be saying, end the occupation. And CEOs are like, I'm not hiring this guy. He supports brutal savagery, the butchering of children and raping of women. Like, I don't want to hire. And I'm like, wait, we said that a year ago and you gave me a promotion. Nobody knows what to do on the left. Do you see how pleasurable it is to be on our side and act with moral clarity in hard times?
See, I think if I can butt in here just for a moment, I'm going to bust in with my apoliticalness here because there's problems on both sides. There really is, people. I don't.
Oh yeah, this is not. We're not playing this to. This is not in here to take the side of the right or the left or the Democrats or the Republicans. Mostly, I just wanted that booing and hissing, that kind of tied right in. But this gives you the other side. So this is the conversation. If you're not into politics, which I get it, everybody, I take for granted that I get to listen to this stuff while I work because that's the kind of job I have. But it's, if you're not seeing this is the conversation that's going on right now. So sorry to interrupt you, Brad.
No, you're good. Yeah, keep going. I'm very interested in because I saw that and I was like, I again, not taking a political side on this, I'm just like, oh, that poor guy. Anytime someone is booed and hissed on stage, I just think, oh, heart-wrenching. I mean, that guy poured his soul into probably something like, hey, I don't want the people to die, and people are booing and hissing him? I mean, no matter, politics aside, again, I have to say that, but politics aside, I'm for not killing people. But I understand that there are terrible things that happen in this world. But anyway, I digress.
They're not ready for the loud cry of peace and security quite yet. They need war. They have to have it. So yeah, it is. It's just a boiling. Things are boiling over more and more. And I think, no matter where we are in the world, well, most of the places in the world, we do take for granted the sense of security that we're afforded, just day by day. But the truth is, what happened in Israel, it could happen to any of us, and it's not.
Certainly.
It's not something that's exclusive to them. I had some scripture picked out just about war, and specifically the war that we should be concerning ourselves with, because the wars and the rumors of wars, they are going to continue. I believe we're in that time. We've officially crossed some type of a threshold, and we are seeing prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes. It's very exciting. We should be praising God that we have this opportunity to actually see the prophecies being fulfilled, because it proves just how true and good he is. But Jesus himself spoke, and he said in Matthew 10:34 and 35, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household." Jesus is acknowledging that while we are existing in this earth, this current iteration of earth that is rife with sin and conflict, there isn't going to be peace. And Jesus knew, even him entering into the world, I'm not bringing peace. I'm bringing the sword, because you're going to have to fight. And he's given us this wisdom, heavenly wisdom, that we can arm ourselves with and fight against the darkness in the real world. And if we look at Revelation 15:3, This is something that we see is, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, "Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints." So the mentioning there of the song of Moses I thought was very interesting, because that ties into directly to Exodus 15. And I'd like to read just 10 verses out of Exodus 15. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider has he thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my song, and he is become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him an habitation, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sank into the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Lord, is become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, hath dashed in pieces the enemy. And in the greatness of thine excellency thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou hast sentest forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. And with the blast of thy nostrils the waters were gathered together. The floods stood upright as an heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them. They sank as lead in the mighty waters. So you can look at this through a historical lens, because this is directly after the crossing of the Red Sea and then the closing of the Red Sea as well. Pharaoh and his hosts have been vanquished, but we can see here typologically who Pharaoh is representing in this song, because if we're going to sing the song of Moses in the end, then it's going to be applicable to our time as well. Pharaoh is this one who said that he is going up against God. He is in direct rebellion to God. This is the war that's taking place. It's Satan and his hosts that are fighting against God. And what I found, this is what drew me to these verses originally, was 15:3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. God is an expert in warfare. And it's not the kind of warfare that I think we typically have here on Earth, where we think of someone like Napoleon was a great strategist, or Julius Caesar, or General Patton in World War II. God has this keen sense of when to move against his enemy, when to allow them to go forth. I mean, he split the seas and allowed Pharaoh in to the seas. Don't you think, wouldn't it be insane if you were one of the Israelites, you're looking back and what's going on? God, why are you letting them pass too? What is, they're going to pursue us to the ends of the earth? No, he's just slammed that sea shut on them. He's allowing them in their hubris to proceed and to chase down. So this is the war that I want us to stay focused on. All of the viewers and us on the channel, we have to look at things through a biblical lens, and it's very clear that it's the spiritual war that we fight on a daily basis that we need to be concerning ourselves with. And although there are these atrocities that are being committed, we can pray that there's peace for those involved, and that they ultimately turn and they seek God, and that they have a conversion, so that they can be with us when we sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. It's gonna be wonderful. But
Absolutely.
let's just keep things in sight. Let's use this as the lens that we look at the conflict through.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, because I think to really drive the point home, even though we are looking at Israel right now, and it's interesting what's happening over there, I hear many Christian commentators talking about this and saying, hey, look, this is happening. It's part of prophecy. Hold on for a second. There will be wars. There will be wars forever. There will be poor among us forever. But I think what we should be looking at is who is Israel? Who is Israel? Because I believe, and if there's a Christian that doesn't believe this, I'd be very concerned. We are grafted into the vine. I mean, that's what the Bible says. Go to Romans 11 through 31. I'll just read verse 24. For if you're cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and you're grafted contrary to nature into the cultivated olive tree, how much more will these who are natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree? So he's making a comparison here, saying, hey, look at this. We, as you know, we're not born of Israel. I mean, literally, we are, because we believe in Christ, we are put into that original plan that Israel had. Every Christian is. And so when the Bible talks about Christianity and all that stuff that's happening at the end, I think we need to take serious note and think maybe that's talking about Israel here. Let's take a look at that, and we're going to go over this probably in a much broader sense here soon, since this is such a big topic in the news. But I encourage every Christian, when you hear Israel is in prophecy right now, this is a tactic of the devil to make a sleight of hand. He's the ultimate magician. He's going to look at Israel over here. Look at Israel. Look at Israel. Something's happening in the true Israel, which is you and me, the Christians.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of opinions about that. You know, a lot of Christians having different opinions about, is Israel still God's people? Did they walk away from God? Is he done with them completely? Is the church now just the people around the world? Well, yeah, it's all of that, though. Like you're saying, Brad, you know, he grafted us in, so that means they're still there, and there's more added to it. You can't just turn a blind eye from Israel and say they're no longer God's people. They definitely are, and so are we. So we should be interested in what's going on.
Yeah, everybody has a chance, you know, at salvation through Jesus Christ. That's
Amen.
the thing. It opened up, you know, preached first to the Jews, then to the Gentiles, but you have to, he is the way, the truth, and the life. So you have to, whoever you are, wherever you come from, you have to go through him. And I just want to pick on what you said, and you kind of came back to the point that I was going to make, Matt, but about the fight. It's important to emphasize that we're not advocating for physical, corporeal warfare. So Ephesians 6:12, where we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So you kind of got to it at the end of your comments, Matt. This is a spiritual war that God's not physical. So the idea of fixing the problems of this world or taking, well, that leads right into Romans 12:19 through 21. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink, for in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. So, and this is not to say, like we said before, this doesn't mean discernment and prudence goes out the window, or that you can't, you know, in an imminent situation, you can't defend yourself. But this, you know, that's an individual's conscious decision to make, you know, the extent of that, you know, in their walk with Christ. But as far as getting behind nations and getting behind politics and causes and human beings, we're not meant to do that, because ultimately it's God who's going to execute judgment on everyone. And everybody will be judged according to their works. And I just kind of wanted to mention, and you've already mentioned it, Wendy, that we haven't really got into, you know, buckle up, because Luke 21, starting in verse 25, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So we haven't even gotten to this yet, and already people are freaking out. Yep. So we don't have a spirit of fear, but at the end of that, what we're supposed to do, if we have a relationship with Christ, look up. Because we know as things get worse, it's not that we want to see things get worse for their own sake. It's not that we enjoy. We're not Satan and his demons. We don't, at least I don't enjoy seeing people suffer. But what's on the other side of that is the end of all suffering.
Yeah.
So
redemption.
100%.
Yes, and it's funny too, because it ties into the main theme of our channel. You know, we mostly focus on UAP. You said to look up because your redemption draws nigh. There's going to be people who read a verse like that and they're going to look up, and I think they're going to see something very different from what the Bible describes as the second coming of Christ. I think it's going to be that deception. that comes. So that's another thing to keep in mind too. You might get to a place where you're so desperate for all of this to stop, and then all of a sudden it seems like there's an out.
Wow.
Like, what if these entities come and they offer relief and they do things and they peacemake where we thought it could never happen? You know, we have people getting slaughtered on a daily basis, and all of a sudden we have peace on earth. What was the casualties? Zero.
And then we're
How
the
is
bad
that
ones.
possible?
Yeah.
Because we're the ones who are saying, hey, get them
Yeah.
out of here. We want nothing to do with them. Like, what, you want to go back to war? What's wrong with you? And you will. I mean, as we saw, what happened even in the votes, right? The people who are standing against the majority, they get booed. They get chased out of that article that I wanted to dip into it a little more, but it said that the congresswoman who cast the vote against the war was chased out and had to find refuge in a phone booth and was calling for help in the phone booth, and it completely ended her political career. There was nothing more that she could do because she was branded as someone who went against the majority. It's just such an obvious choice that we go to war now. Like, we've been attacked. We are been wronged. So it's time for us to take revenge on the people who have fought against us. And that one voice, that, I mean, I believe that if they could have, they would have inflicted violence on her. You may have seen her get stoned, similar to how Stephen was stoned when he went against the majority, and he told them, just telling it like it is, and they're going to kill you for it. Okay, I'll die if it means that I'm standing up for Jesus Christ, if I'm standing up for the gospel. And you want to kill me over it? Yeah, go ahead, whatever.
Wow.
Well, that's all I had on that fun topic.
Very good. And that's not all, friends. So stick around, because we have another presentation come up. It's just as serious, but a little more lighthearted. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about some major deceptions that are happening in this world. And Wendy, take it away.
Yeah, here we go. So again, like I said before, I've just collected these clips of shows that I've seen with my kids, and some of them we started out watching and they're like, wow, this is really cute and super adorable. And there's actually a lot of good morals you can draw from the shows. And then, little by little, you start saying, wait a minute, what was that? Whoa, what are they doing? It's like, okay, time to pull out that discernment and, talk to your kids about what they're actually watching here. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Bluey. Anyone here? No one?
I've heard of it. Yeah,
Okay.
It seems to be, well, it looks like one of the cuter, I guess, shows you could watch. People were saying, because I've seen people talk about the show and they said it promotes family values, that it doesn't have some of the weird, overt stuff. This is just another thing. We are apolitical. We're observers of the situation, but there is one side of the political spectrum that's been pushing transgender stuff and drag stuff and, rampant homosexuality. And I've heard people say, oh, Bluey, it's a relief. We don't have to deal with that stuff in this show. It's just fun family situations and it's relatable.
Yeah, and most parents love it because it is quite funny, like some of the things that parents do, and they kind of have the flip side of like, sometimes your kids, get out of hand and parents have to laugh and pray. But so the first one that I have here for us is just to show like how cute it is and how family friendly, and so we'll just let it roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will now play for you the Rondo alla Turca. Hi, piano! Ladies and gentlemen, I'm terribly sorry. I seem to be having a little bit of trouble with my piano.
Dad, I want to be the piano. No, it's still my turn.
Taking turns can be difficult.
Dad, she's had this many turns.
You can be the bum bongos. Boom, 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 bum bongos. I'm forever. Boom, 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 bum bongos.
Yes, just a cute little skit, but I mean, you do see good things, right? The parents are really engaged and the children are having fun. There's not really any screen time going on. And, they're arguing for a little bit, and he's like, oh yeah, taking turns is hard. Something parents want their kids to learn. So very friendly, colorful. Seems like a good show.
Yeah. No, talk about relatability. I think I mentioned that before the broadcast, that specific clip. My kids, so I have a 2-year-old, he's going to be 3 pretty soon, and a 1.5-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
And the 1.5-year-old girl, her vocabulary is pretty big for her age because she takes after her brother. But anything I do with them, I do something like that, and it becomes turn. And it's just so we have my son screams, "No, it's my turn!" So that is a common situation. It's funny to see it played out.
So we're just gonna roll the next one, and we'll see what you guys think.
Cool. Don't worry, Bumpy. The wiser wolfhound will be able to magic you better.
Okay.
He's a Trixie. Oh, wiser wolfhound, Bumpy is sick.
Oh, poor little fella.
It's not fair. Please, can you help him?
I am not a puppy doctor.
Please, can you magic him better?
Magic?
Magic him better.
Please.
Okay, little one. Perhaps there is a way I can help.
Oh, wonderful.
Bring me a pair of purple underpants.
Okay.
What?
Now it's making sense.
Whoa, I'm not finished. I need a pair of purple underpants from someone who's never been sick.
Never been sick?
Never been sick.
Oh.
Have you ever been sick?
Oh, yes. I had a runny nose last year.
Well, it will have to be someone else's purple underpants, I'm afraid.
No problems. I'll get some from someone in town. We'll be right back.
Good luck, Barnacle.
Yeah, good luck finding someone random person's... What?
Underpants. Okay, the underpants actually is not the issue I was going to talk about. But, yeah, I mean, it is an issue.
That's what made Brad's eyes went huge.
I get the magic part, but... Can we talk a little bit about the awkwardness of going and getting some random person in town's underpants? Purple underpants?
To be fair, in the show, they never wear clothes. So she's just like, here, like that's not natural for them to wear clothes anyway. But the context of the story is that her little sister is sick and she's in the hospital. And so Bluey, the older dog, and Dad are making like a home video. Mm-hmm. And they're sending it to their younger sister and saying, I'm sorry that you're sick, but everyone's sick sometimes. So it's not that big of a deal, like we feel bad for you, but trying to cheer up in the hospital basically. But I don't know. What do you guys see red flag wise other than the underpants?
I can see a couple others, but I talk too much. So you guys go and don't steal my thunder. No, you guys go ahead. Go ahead.
Go for it, Matthew.
Oh, really? Thank you. The pleading with the wise. What do they call it? The wise witch?
Wise old wolfhound. Wolfhound.
Wolfhound. Okay, yeah, wolfhound. Well, it reminded me of a woods witch in other classical kind of fairy tale settings. Just the pleading with, and turning to obviously seeking for healing. Where if we are to seek for healing, we should be asking God. Obviously, this is the big red flag, and we don't want to instill in our children that we need to seek an earthly person to act as a medium for magic to take place and heal somebody. It does seem so innocent when you're looking at it, and I know this is the type of content that people would see who aren't Christians, maybe don't have that strong conviction, and they'd say you're ridiculous. All right,
there's nothing.
There's a thing called Disney magic, all right? And I grew up with it, and it was wonderful. Yeah, I'd been to Disney World so many times, but the truth is, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't take my kids to Disney World, even though we might have a great time. Not going to do it because it's a detriment to their faith. Above all else, I need to be looking out for their relationship with God, and I do think that putting this type of a thought in their head, it could very well potentially damage their relationship with God.
Down the road.
Yeah. In the chat, Diana says that looked like a spiritual being. I had the thought of like some type of psychedelic trance, the music and the yoga position there and stuff. And we know that psychedelics, especially people who've done DMT or things like that, report encountering entities with very interesting messages. I was going to say that, God has a way that he does things. So there, demons can heal people. Fallen angel, they are Elohim. They were created by God with abilities that we don't have. God and his righteous angels do it also. I don't know how God does it, but he does it. He's the creator. But we shouldn't get in this, there's this transactional nature with magic, or the way magic is portrayed. Our vocabulary is so limited because it's like, how do I refer to what God and righteous angels do without using the word magic or enchanted? Because I know those words bother some people, but it is supernatural to us. But there's this transactional nature with how magic is presented in Satan's media, where it's like, okay, if you do these steps, it's like a recipe. You bring me these the purple underpants, you make this chant this many times, and then what you want to happen will happen. In reality, as Christians, we know that just because we pray to be healed, or for a certain problem to be solved, or for something to work out a certain way, that doesn't mean God's going to do it that way. And this is where we have to remember that we're supposed to trust in our Creator and understand that he can see much farther down the road than we can, and he has a plan for each of us. He knows exactly what we're going to do, what we're going to ask before we ask it, and he knows where he wants us to be at a certain time. There's a lot of Christians who pray for healing. They don't get healed. They die of things like cancer, or they they die suddenly in a car wreck. And so we need, and that I think is, obviously, the comments you guys mentioned, don't go to somebody who can heal you with magic. Let's not get in this expectation of we ask for things and they're just, everything that we ask for is given to us right away by God. We need, Christ said, not my will, but yours. Yeah. That's what we're supposed to want. Yeah. So we can, we're supposed to bring us to God, but all that is to be, this is what I want, or this is my thoughts, but no best. So I'm giving this to you, and I'm submitting my will to yours.
You're breaking up a little bit, but I think we understood what you were saying, Eric. I don't know what the deal is, if it's the interconnection here or there, but everywhere it's the terrorists. Let's just blame it on them. Let me think. I also thought it was interesting that it was portraying some kind of Eastern type of meditation. Yeah. There was even it was obviously religious based, and.
Yeah, do you guys see all the crystals in the background?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add that in there.
It seems to be like a crossover, too, because it's like the Eastern mysticism, but then also the magic of, kind of like I was saying, like the Woods Witch motif. Mm-hmm. It's all the same thing, really. Eastern and Western paganism is just paganism at the end
really,
of the
they're
day.
all on the same side. So just kind of keep that in mind, the whole New Age theme, because that's what we're just going to see a little more of here. You can go ahead.
Where could they all be? Okay, I need to figure this out.
Is that a Furby?
It's obnoxious. Whatever it is.
What?
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, that's right. Magic! Magic!
Oh man, I had a Christmas tree stuck in my back the whole time.
Can you believe I got distracted and forgot we were playing hide and seek?
Yes! It's very believable.
Now you hide and I'll see. Okay.
So, interesting.
Yeah, so the first one, it's just kind of hinting at the New Age beliefs. There's some crystals. I mean, a psychedelic thing, the pose, but then here in the second one, we actually have Bluey participating in it. So it's not just like it's not just a statue in the yard for decoration. There's purpose behind it. Yeah. And clearly she's learned from her family what to do when she's distracted.
So was that an outer body experience? You went and found all her hide and seek guys?
Interesting, right? She didn't have any idea where they were until she meditated and then instantly knew. Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky.
And
Diana
the thing
says
is,
cartoons
in the last...
just...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as Diana mentions in the chat, cartoons just aren't what they used to be. The scary thing is, if you go back with a critical eye and look at previous cartoons, it's there. It's just a lot. It's just not nearly as open.
Stuff.
Like,
not as blatant.
So,
right. Well,
I don't know. I never saw meditation in Wile E. Coyote. It was just like violence. My parents didn't let me watch Popeye.
Yeah, but didn't the alien like float in Looney Tunes, or what was that guy?
Really?
Marvin the Martian.
Oh, that's
didn't he
right.
like meditate and float?
Flintstones. Oh no, Marvin the Martian was Looney Tunes. Flintstones had Kazoo.
I don't know, one of
the
them.
Great Kazoo was in Flintstones. Yeah, I don't know. We could go down memory lane because we will find stuff. As far as this modern cartoon goes, in that first clip, it was, like you said, the context of it. Oh, they're just making a fun little home video. So ultimately, I don't know. Did you see the entirety of that episode?
Yeah.
Wendy? Does the wise old wolfhound, do they provide the solution, or it doesn't turn out to be the solution?
No, basically,
to the sickness?
she goes around and she asks everybody, have you ever been sick? Have you ever been sick? And they're like, yeah. And
everybody has been sick.
Yeah, so she's saying, see, everyone's been sick before. So
right,
it's not
okay.
that big a deal.
So in the end, the magic was not the solution there. But here in this clip, we see that the practice was the solution.
Mm-hmm.
That when you're stressed out and you need to calm down and you need to remember, then sit in the lotus position and start meditating. And then have like a weird, vision of yourself coming in. See yourself, hear the words that you are speaking. This type of stuff, like I said, although it may seem very innocent, it isn't, because these are practices that adults use, and they draw spiritual conclusions by doing this. Kids do get distracted and they get worked up, and they do need to calm down, and they do need to remember things that maybe they're forgetting in the moment. But the way that they do that shouldn't be through meditative practices. There's got to be a better way to convey this message. So it just makes me think whoever's on the writing team, this is probably how they find the solution to this problem.
Yep.
It reminds me, Chris reminded me in the chat, he says, or she, I don't know if I got to look and see. Chris, she says, mindfulness is rubbish. 100% right. Because what's going on here is, this is the law of attraction. And let me tell you, I've just recently had quite an experience with this. I might do a whole show on this because I'm a realtor. I got my real estate license, and I went to all the classes. And let me tell you, and this is just a preview of what I want to talk about, you got to find the right realtor because they all practice this stuff, and they're being taught this stuff.
Yikes.
And one of the major books that's being taught right now that every realtor is asked to learn about, to read, is this 8-hour book about mindfulness, and it's completely religion, saying that you manifest what you can get out of this sale, and you can sell this house, or you can find the right house by just observing it. You attract it. You are powerful being.
It's everywhere.
And it's I mean, I had 3 people turn around in my class and say, "What? You don't believe this stuff?" I said, "No, I don't believe. I believe that I'm not a powerful being, but I know there is a powerful being out there. There's a few of them, and they're going to cause a lot of grief for us." And everyone just was just in awe that I would say something like that. And
but it works.
I believe that, they said, because it works. We've seen it.
Yeah.
And so this is a major thing that's going on right now. And you don't have to be religious to take on this idea of mindfulness and the law of attraction. It's a big deal. I might make a whole show about it. If you're interested. If you're interested, put it in the chat room. Or put it in the comments. I want to hear you say, yeah, we want to learn more about what's going on in this realm. Anyway, I kind of took over that.
No, that's good. Okay, so the next little segment. Sorry, Eric, I don't know if you wanted to say anything. We got a lot of segments though. So.
No, we're good. No, yeah, let's.
Yeah, so we know on the show that when you practice these New Age beliefs, it kind of opens a door, and the deception that comes in afterwards is, not something that we want as Christians. So this is tiny little clip. Just listen really carefully to what she says here.
So I played in soccer.
Oh, well done, Bingo. Hey, what's with all the shouting?
Sorry, Redford.
That's okay.
Dad, are there aliens on the moon?
Yeah, maybe.
Ooh.
What?
Mom, can I be an astronaut when I grow up?
If you like.
Hey.
Okay, well,
So that's it. Yeah. Super short. And again, like, seems like, huh, okay. I mean, kids talk about aliens sometimes, but God, are there aliens on the moon? Yeah, maybe. Interesting. So wait, before you comment, I just want to roll right into the next one.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah. I'm behind you, so let me set that up. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Let's just take a look at this. So, do we think that, New Age and aliens have anything to do with each other? Because here we see New Age practices, and then they're talking about aliens. Like, oh, okay, that just might be random. But this is a bag of chips, actually, that I found at the grocery store. I'm like, oh, these look great. And I flip it over to check out, nutritional facts. I'm like, wait, what's this? It's like a cartoon. So here we have a lady meditating, and then, oh, like, aliens come and steal her snack. It's just craziness.
You want to zoom in on one of these?
Yeah, if you keep going, there you go.
Snacking Zen.
Snacking Zen.
Can one of you guys that have a bigger monitor, we're looking at tiny little windows.
Yeah, definitely. Spiritualist incorporates ideals into snacking habits. Renowned yogi Lindsay Calhoun recently sat down with us and discussed how she incorporates her philosophies into her lifestyle. I will not eat anything but organic food, Calhoun stated. When I am meditating, I cannot be distracted by my physical body. The daily craves organic veggie straws help me feel grounded. Calhoun stated she keeps the snacks all around her yoga studio for her students, along with fresh fruit and plenty of water. It's all about balancing your energy, she stated. Then she stuffed a handful of veggie straws into her mouth and gracefully moved into the lotus position.
You could do commercials, Matthew.
Oh, thank you.
So go ahead and just pull up the next one. Go ahead.
Oh, Eric.
On the surface, it's like, I only eat organic stuff or healthy.
Yeah,
it's
good.
like, it sounds
right.
Great.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. It's just what else is mixed into that statement.
Yeah.
Exactly. Crop circles coincide with missing new snack displays. Local grocery and natural food stores are reporting missing snack displays in and around Northern California. Although the authorities have not been able to link these disappearances to any particular individuals, the timing has baffled the neighbors. Reports of numerous crop circles and UFOs have concerned the authorities and Jared Eady. UFO enthusiasts have contributed the sightings to a search by ET for ancient grains and legumes due to their nutritional benefits. Later reports have found lentil chip pieces with unusual jagged teeth marks leading to the same fields.
What is this?
Coming for our organic food. It's funny.
Remember
it's comical.
when chip companies used to make chips?
Yeah.
And you would buy the chips and eat the chips, and that was the end of it?
Right. No more.
Yeah. One of the things that I think will probably happen, I don't think we've talked about on the show, but it's just when I war game, because I do think through, okay, what is this going to look like? And I think that you'll see the entities, they'll have a particular sense of humor. I do think they'll make people laugh, and I think they'll be attractive in that way. That there's going to be a charming aspect to it. Because Jesus, Eric has pointed this out, actually. Like, when you look and you see Jesus through the Gospels, there's not like a joke cracking or kind of like wise, like laughing going on and cheerfulness necessarily. I mean, there is reason to be cheerful, but the mission that he was on was like, he's dead set and he's healing people, and it's a very serious thing. I think that when we see the entities come, they will, crack jokes and kind of laugh at things, and they're going to be so attractive in that way. There's just going to be just teeming with charm.
Oh, yeah.
Really.
Yeah, quite possibly. So yeah, just again to show like the tie. There's a huge tie between New Age and then the aliens. Like so much so they're putting it on chips. So here in Bluey we had all that New Age, and then the last one where they say, hey, are there aliens on the moon? And Dad's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. So this next clip, I think, kind of speaks volumes too and ties in. So.
Yeah, and we've had this clip one other time, I think, on this show, and
Yeah.
this is a fascinating clip. Watch this.
One of the first things I wanted to do when I got away from home was I wanted to take a meditation retreat. I wanted to go on this meditation retreat. So it was a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana. Really cool, out in the middle of the woods, wanted to center myself. And on the second night of meditation, I ended up getting abducted by these really tall, white-looking beings. I'm like, oh, I wonder where this meeting is going to take place. And so we start traveling, floating around. All of a sudden, we're getting off this planet. All of a sudden, we're floating out of the atmosphere. I'm like, oh, okay, didn't expect this. All of a sudden, we're going to the moon. And I'm getting excited. This is great. We're going to have a meeting with the Galactic Federation on the moon. There must be some sort of base there. I didn't know at this point. Turns out we went to the moon, but instead of going on the moon for this meeting, we actually went inside the moon. I don't know if any of you knew that the moon was hollow and it's actually just a satellite device. Yeah, I got one of you, cool. I didn't know at this time that the moon was hollow. So we asked to travel inside the center of the moon. And I just want to explain that, what I stepped into, right?
All right, before you, can I just mention something real quick? She is actually channeling what she is seeing right now. And if you look at go back, and maybe I'll put a little card up here so that you can go back and look at this video, because we do quite a bit of talk on this video. And she says she grew up in a religious home. She had religious parents. And she went up to her father and said, "Hey, I met God, and I, you know what? The Bible was wrong. He's a woman, and I've been talking to her." And so she's had all these experiences. Then she had aliens that supposedly came to her. I mean, this might be just all in her mind, but they came to her and said, "At this time, we need you at this place. Be there so that you can receive this message." And so she was. It was like in the middle of the night, and she went into some kind of trance, and she said, "This is what's happening to her."
Yeah.
She went to, in her mind, the moon.
The galactic meeting on the moon. Yeah, but there's no chance with that. I don't think it would be perchance that, hey, are there aliens on the moon? But then this is actually a New Age belief. This is something that aliens have channeled and information that they've given to this lady who is then presenting it to a large number of people. So clearly this is some sort of New Age belief that's being pushed, and then here we have it on a children's show. Quite disturbing to me as a parent.
Yeah.
I will say before we move on to the next clip, this is actually one of the things that convinced me that I no longer wanted to be in public education, because I was in there for 10 years in a kindergarten classroom, and mindfulness was everywhere. It's all over.
Really?
Yeah, like every elementary school all around the country, they push mindfulness, and there's tons of research actually that's out that says when the kids practice mindfulness for 10 minutes a day, they have less behavior problems, they have higher scores because they're not so distracted. And so education, the principals and the districts are like, hey, obviously that's what we want. We want higher scores, so let's do this. And I don't think they even know, the religious side of it. But I actually wanted to bring a book, and I forgot it. There's a book that I've read, and it's 10 doctors that are getting together, and they just have all this research that they collaborated with, and they made a list of side effects that happen when you meditate. And one of the side effects in their combined research was alien encounters. So it's like, oh yeah, side effects. You might have a headache or this, and alien encounters. So
what?
Just craziness, yeah. But
do you remember what those were? Those type of medicines?
What do you mean?
Because I remember when my father had his bypass surgery, they gave him some kind of special K. They call it special K, I think, on the street. But they
ketamine.
That's that's ketamine. The one. Yeah. How do you know that?
The doctor says, I just gave him some special K.
But he said, man, I was seeing wizards. I told him Yikes. I don't want any of that ever again. He said, I don't know what that was, but the nurses came in ringing bells. And so, there are some crazy stuff. But
yeah. I know this was like the list that they had was just when people meditate, what are some common things that happen to them? And yeah, I was just really surprised to be reading that alien encounters is a side effect of meditation. So clearly not something we should be promoting in all of the schools around America, but it's being pushed, sadly.
It's another example of
for a while.
Yeah.
Well, it's another example of pursuing what a worthwhile goal through the wrong method, the wrong channel. It's the idea of being more mindful and taking stock of your feelings, your emotions, your actions, and things like that. There's nothing inherently wrong in that, but you know what? God can help you do that. You know, you don't need a New Age practice or to go see a channeler or a medium or anything like that, or you just ask him to help you reflect his character, because ultimately, you know, his character is the one that we want to. If we reflect that, you're going to have these qualities. Your life is going to be improved. You're going to get rid of the bad aspects of your character or bad habits. It's happened to. I mean, it's happened to me. Everybody, I'm sure it's happened to everybody who's come to Christ and who has asked for, you know, his assistance, because when you give your life over to him and say, okay, I want to put you in charge now. I want to do things your way. He's going to take you up on it, and he's going to lead you to a better place. So you're going to get there. It's so attractive to do things. It's like an easy way. It's like a quick, like the whole magic thing. It's like, oh, just do this step, bam, 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 immediate gratification. Mm-hmm. And especially, as we all know, in this day and age, immediate gratification, everything's about immediate gratification. So,
yeah.
We have someone in the chat too mentioned. Well, first of all, let's talk about a super chat that came from Good For Me. They said, I love you guys. Thank you, all 4 of you guys, for this. What an amazing show. You guys all bring such a fun theme to this channel. Well, thank you for watching, because you know what? It's just, it's the audience, you know, that we love. Both those who make it to the live and those who watch the recorded programs. You know, we love doing this stuff and having a community here and talking with you guys. Another comment here in the chat was from Just a Girl in Wonderland. I've been told many times mindfulness is different than meditation. What are your thoughts? I thought that was a good question. So I looked up the definition of mindfulness, and it has two definitions here. One is the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. And then 2, a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations, used as a therapeutic technique. So they seem to be tied together, because I would say, especially according to that second definition, the goal of entering a meditative would be to be in a state of acknowledging the present moment, right? Like you don't focus on when you're supposed to meditate, it's like clear the mind and just let it be, like just be as you are. And also letting things come. And it's weird that it says bodily sensations is in this definition from the Oxford Dictionary. Are included in being in a state of mindfulness. But then you have the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. So that's not, again, it's like Eric is saying, that's not inherently wrong. If I'm being mindful of the Bible, say I woke up in the morning and I opened up the Bible and I read a chapter or a couple verses and it spoke to me in that moment, and I go, wow, that's really nice. Well, I go on with my day and I'm dealing with things, but then all of a sudden a situation arises and the verses that I read are like explicitly applicable. Well, it would be a state of mindfulness that you do have where you're thinking of the gospel and you're thinking of the Bible. So there, being mindful wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It wouldn't be to your detriment. But if your mindfulness is, say, doing something like Brad was talking about that the realtors are participating in, the manifestation, or I also hear the term intention a lot. They seem to have been kind of moving. The vocabulary is always developing, right? It's always evolving. But intention, because I saw like a little blurb of someone who's involved. It's like a woman who's involved in business, and it was like, the word of the year is intention. And it's just, from what is being said there, you can tell, okay, it's intention of what I want to happen. I will make it happen. I am intentionally going after this thing. So, yes, just to put a little dot on that point, mindfulness, I think, can be a good thing, just as meditation could be a good thing if you're being mindful of the gospel and you're meditating on the gospel. All of a sudden, we're fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, but
Brad,
I will
are you
say,
looking up the verse that talks about meditate
No,
on his birthday?
I was just responding to some chat real quick.
Yeah.
But no, that's exactly right. And I need to go through that book they were trying to get us to read about mindfulness and all this other stuff and bring it out, because as I was doing the audiobook, I was going, what in the world? This is not a lesson book. This is a religious book. But anyway, that's for stay tuned. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be talking about all kinds of crazy stuff that happens in your normal life. And it's not just crazy, it's strange. And so also hit that like button, because we love your likes, and it does push us out in the algorithm in the interwebs much faster if you actually interact.
We got over
with the
100
program.
likes right now, just so you know.
Awesome.
That's great.
Very good.
It's always a benchmark. Whenever we're getting those likes, it does definitely help.
Yeah.
What's the next clip you got for us, Wendy?
Okay, next is a Toy Story one, so we'll let it roll and see what you guys think.
Keep the fossils.
Strangers from the unforgiving outlands.
We have traveled far from the distant Bonnie tribe.
Leave your offerings and be gone.
Are dinosaurs not welcome in our great city, wise cleric?
Fine, have them made presentable. I find their lack of armor disturbing.
To the armory!
Well, I think I'm going to head back. I'll go with you. I've had enough Shakespeare in the park.
Metropolis awaits.
This set is incredible. I could really get used to this.
Give us some hustle. You're a cruiser, aren't you, lad?
Prehistoric buildings, dinosaur cars, whatever that thing's meant to be. What is it?
The Triassic Tower of the Dream Elders, through which distant beings convey cosmic wisdom from another dimension.
At our house, Bonnie just yells across the room in a funny voice.
And here, the Volcano Commander.
What? How many Toy Stories are there? What is this?
This is like some random. We found it at the library. My kids actually are terrified of Toy Story. My husband loves it, so we tried to watch a little bit. And my son was 3 at the time. And he's like, "The toys are alive." I'm like, "Okay, we're just gonna turn it off." And so, he got it from the library, and I'm like, "This is just for me and Daddy." Sadly, I know. But I like, what a chance of picking it up, because I'm like, this is gold for the show. But yeah, so it's like 30 minutes long, and it's called The Toy Story That Time Forgot. So it's just like an offshoot. It's not an actual full-length movie or anything. It's just a little show that they made.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of chocked full here of some strange things. What do you guys think? What are your...
I noticed there were 3 little things falling around I guess the cleric around.
Cleric?
The number 3 is interesting whenever I see it. So many meanings. It has a Masonic meaning. It has, obviously the Trinity that Satan tries to imitate. But I think the biggest thing probably mostly people saw is that we get messages through this tower from these other beings. So,
wow.
Yeah. Well, the cleric, if you look closely, he's covered in like moons and stars and very New Agey, but it's the guy that they're all getting all their information from. He's the religious leader. So that kind of screamed at me.
I'm gonna look back on that. Let me cut that over real quick.
Thing's meant to be.
All right, let me just see that real quick. Let me bring us all in here, because I messed
What
that
is
up.
it?
The Triassic Tower of the Dream Elders.
Okay, is you talking about this guy right here, the red guy?
No, the guy in the
No,
purple.
the cleric.
Yeah.
He's like the pterodactyl.
Like if you look at
that's
his staff, he's got like moons and stars.
Oh,
and
yeah.
his shell kind of has it all on
I
it.
didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, it's just creepy. But...
Huh. Interesting.
I wonder about what's on his back, too. I bet there's something.
Yeah, he has a bunch of
There's
symbols on
always
his back.
weird stuff.
I don't think we get to see his back unless he's... Well, what
oh,
is that?
there's that curvy. That one has an
Yeah.
interesting meaning. Matt knows what that is.
Yeah. Sure do. The Ouroboros kind of looking thing. And, the FBI has classified. Obviously swirls they appear all over the place, but and it's for it to appear in kids media. Like that type of a swirl can indicate like pedophilic tendencies. It's kind of ugly stuff to talk about, but it's an official document released by the FBI, identifiers that they'll see in like logos or business names or that type of thing. They can put a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge in there.
It's important to remember that, and just like I mentioned, go back in Disney cartoons, or you can do a Google search and it'll show you like all the the occult stuff in there. But every single, whether it's a 2D animated or a 3D animated, that had to be put there by somebody deliberately.
Right.
Every little detail. It's not like you show up to a set and somehow something blew something down that you weren't expecting and you just didn't catch it and you filmed it. No, like this is, especially with this type of kids media that is this type of film style, that a conscious decision was made to put everything in there. So that's something we need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a little bit, I also like the fact that they're getting cosmic messages from beings. I mean,
yeah,
like that's so random to put in there, but here it's like this mountainish tower, and at the top of it, they're getting all their wisdom, like it's mocking God. I don't. Okay.
If only
we'll
it was
on.
like a giant eye on top of the tower.
Yeah.
Dead to rights.
Screaming at, yeah.
Right.
So we got a lot of clips to go through, so we'll just keep rolling.
Oh, I can't believe I'm going to be on the cover of Mayor magazine with our amazing meteor.
Just a sec, Mayor Goodway. That's gonna be a really cool picture.
No fair. I should be hanging in midair next to a meteor. I'm an important mayor, too.
I just wish I was a mayor of anywhere.
That's a silly idea, nephew. Now, I've got to get back to Foggy Bottom and teach my kiddies how to lift me in the air and take my picture.
If I could just get a piece of that meteor, I'd get my super building powers back, and I'd make my own town to be mayor of. Like that's ever gonna happen.
Oh, and maybe one more photo of me like this.
Oops! It's not like a meteor piece is just gonna fall right in front of me. Like that meteor piece just did. A meteor piece! All right! My super machine-making powers are back! Now to Foggy Bottom!
Oh, okay.
Yeah, interesting. I know.
That escalated quickly.
So these are just kind of like for reference. Okay, so we notice here, obviously there's a meteor that they have, and this guy gets a little chunk of it and starts getting weird random powers. So he's starting to like create things with his own hands. It's interesting.
Oh, a creator. Interesting. That didn't cross my mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Technology coming from the heavens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye. Definitely.
I think we should just keep
quite a bit of that.
Keep rolling the Paw Patrol to the end, and then we can kind of talk about some more.
Here we go.
Mighty Pups, ready for mighty action, riders, sir! Glad to hear it, because we've got a super strange mission. Harold Humdinger has superpowers again.
Humdinger has superpowers again. Okay. So what was going on there? There's so much happening. I thought I saw a UFO lifting off the ground, but I'm not sure what that was.
So Paw Patrol, yeah, normally it's just they have this tower that they go into, and it's like high-techy. He's got the big screens, and they get their missions in there. They change their outfits to their like uniforms, and then they slide down for their... I've watched too much Paw Patrol. For their missions. But since they've gotten this meteor, it's like transformed. So now it's like these amazing tech... Like, I don't know if I showed this one, but they like zoom up into the laser, like anti-gravity. I don't know what's going on there. And then, suddenly they don't have a car. It's like a jet. Almost. Yeah.
Well,
so
was it the meteor? The meteor was like the thing, the catalyst that made that all happen.
Exactly.
So it's funny. So those are the good guys of the show.
Yes.
And they're using the meteor. But then also the bad guy has a piece of the meteor, and he's doing something with it as well.
Exactly.
I think we could see that play out. I mean, especially with the whole technological angle, really, that they've been talking about with recovered craft and everything.
It's also worth
falls
pointing
into
out that
the wrong
meteors are also known as falling stars or shooting stars.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I can see the preview of the next slide, and I'm shocked where this is going right now. So I'm... Wow.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Don't keep us in the dark.
This is exciting. I'm sorry. I can't
Come on,
hold
man.
back. This is exciting. Okay, go for it.
You can just, play, let our audience see.
What? Okay, here we go. Ready for this. This is so crazy.
Embedded in the eastern corner of the shrine
I
is
was
perhaps the
thinking of
most
this.
sacred stone in all the world. The Black Stone of Mecca.
For the world's 1.8 billion Muslims, this stone is crucial. When Muslims face in the direction of Mecca, they face in the direction of that stone.
This object, as simple as it might be, is of incredible significance to the Muslim faith because it is said to have fallen from heaven at the commands of Allah at the time of Adam and Eve, and it was said to have marked the position of the first temple, which obviously becomes Mecca itself.
There is a meteor in that box that they circle around.
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
I honestly only learned that from reading the Secret Machines, because Lavenda talks
Really?
about that in the nonfiction aspect of it all, how they use meteorites as sacred stones for all these things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Diana in the chat is on it because she beat me to it. Their backs to the east, worshiping the sun, and I'm not 100% up on my how the rituals go in Islam, but I'm pretty sure that no matter where a Muslim is in the world, they pray to the east. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not what that guy. If that's true, then what that guy said in that video is wrong. That they face that stone to pray. It's sun worship because the sun, wherever you are, rises in the east. So that's why they do it. So
yeah. Well, so what he said in the video though is the reason they face east is because that's where the stone is located.
Right, but what if you're east of the stone? Then you should face west, right?
I don't know.
If you're
Don't
in
question
China,
it. Just pray.
If you're
just
in
pray
China,
to the east already.
and then you.
Somebody knows the answer to this in the chat. I know. If you know the answer to this, comment on it. If you're watching it archived, or if you're live in the chat here, comment on it.
I could be wrong. So if correct me if I'm
yeah, I think
I'm
what
wrong.
I've heard is if you're not near Mecca, that's just the general position you face. That I could be wrong too, but that's what I've heard. But anyway, so the tie, obviously you see the tie. There's a stone. People are worshiping it, in Mecca, but also they see it as a stone that came from heaven and it's sacred to them. And then here, in Paw Patrol, they have this stone that's giving them all this power. And again, they're trying to be like God. They're getting creative ability and both good and bad are using it. But we see that in magic.
That stone is worn down too in Mecca because when you see those images of all of the, they're all circling that. I don't know which direction they circle, but I'm sure there's meaning to that also.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're trying to touch that stone in there. And it's just, over the years, it's been, that's why I'm pretty sure that's why it looks smooth.
Yeah. The marching around. I mean, that kind of brings to mind Jericho in Joshua.
Yeah.
How they marched around the walls of Jericho. And then on the Sabbath, they did it 7 times, and the walls fell at the sound of a trumpet, or the sound of the horn, rather. Yeah, there's something going on there, clearly. You gotta wonder sometimes. This is Eric and I. We have talks about mechanics. What are the mechanisms of the spiritual realm? What is the significance of marching around at a specific number of times and directing your prayers towards it and all of this stuff? It's got to do something. I think for the most part, what we know on the surface is just that it is it consumes the mind, and that's really what this is about. There's a war on for your mind, and that's what Satan wants. So the more you're focused on that, and you're blocking out anything else, the more controlled you can be in the ritual. There's a participation in the ritual, and that becomes the significant thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, and then so in the Paw Patrol, when they're touching the meteor, like the last little bit of it, if you notice, if you haven't seen the original, those aren't their typical outfits. So now they're like superheroes. So they have all these abilities to fly and transport and teleport and all these things they couldn't do before the meteor showed up. So again, like, it's drawing kids in. What kid doesn't want to be a superhero? But how do you get these powers? Well, you got to find a rock from heaven, I guess. It's just
falling star.
Big red flag.
Yeah, and hold on a second. I'm just pulling it up because it talks about in Revelation. Let's see, the star, which this is 8:11, and the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died because of the waters, because they were made bitter. It's an interesting thing that there is even in Revelation, prophetically talking about something falling to earth from the heavens and causing men to die.
I gotta look that up. I don't know enough about. I've heard a couple sermons about wormwood. I can't speak on it though. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far we've seen a bunch of shows that aren't Christian in nature, and as parents, you always have to. My opinion, obviously, is just to pre-watch anything that your children are going to watch if you're going to let them watch shows. Period. That media really affects children, and if you don't take the time to watch what they're watching, a show might seem innocent enough in the beginning, but you never know what's going to come out later in the seasons, and we have to have that discernment because ultimately we're responsible for our children and what they're being exposed to. So the next couple of clips really caught me by surprise, and I'll have to share a little bit about my son and how I found these, but this is gonna come from Superbook, which is a Christian show, and we're gonna see some of these things kind of unfold here too. So go ahead.
What?
Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. I am taking you to learn what tithing means.
Oh, okay, all right.
Super short, but yeah. I've actually watched the show so many times. I love Superbook, and usually it's pretty spot on. But it was like season 3, and my son's 5, and just out of nowhere, we talk about angels a lot, and we talk about aliens, and so he knows, aliens are bad angels, and he tells people randomly in the grocery store. It's fun.
Does he really?
He does. He's so outgoing, and I'm like, oh, now's not the time.
It's funny what kids will say. My son has told random people, "I want to be with Jesus."
That's so sweet. That's great.
It is. It's like an innocence thing.
Yeah, and it's so much more acceptable when it comes from a kid. They just look at you like, "Yeah, good job, Mom. Good job."
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're watching the show, and one day he just looks at me and he says, "Mom, why is the Bible coming out of a spaceship?" I was like, "What?" And so I had to watch it again. I'm like, wait a minute, that does look like a spaceship. And it opens up, and here you have a Bible, and then they're sucked in. And it's like a trippy time portal that they go through to then see these Bible stories.
Wow.
If you know anything about Superbook, it came from an original show that kind of had an anime feel. And the original Superbook, it literally just had a book that opened up, and they got brought into the book, and they were took into, the Bible stories. But so this new and improved Superbook now opens up, and I mean, it definitely has a spacey UFO feel to it, doesn't it? But I completely had my blinders on watching the show so many times. I did not catch that at all. But when my son said it, I was like, huh, that's interesting. And then I just started really watching for things like that. I'm like, is there anything else? Because otherwise it just seems like a fluke.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's keep watching.
Right here above Valley View Labs.
My dad's working tonight. Occult. Hi, son. Dad, we chased a flying object from over our house to it. We're right above Valley View Labs, and then it totally disappeared. Slow down. I can't make out anything. Never mind. We're coming in for a landing, and we'll show you the video. Take us down, Giz. Up, Giz. Mock rocket mode 4000.
I think that was flipped. That's okay.
1 second.
Yeah, it was flipped. So that was actually the first segment we watched was the end of the show. But you should put this too.
Okay.
We'll just keep rolling.
What's happening? Whatever it is, we won't lose it this time. I do not like this. Boosters blast. What is that? We don't know, but blood Gizmo, huh? Activate the stabilizers, Gizmo. Turn on surveillance vidcams, Giz. We've got to record this thing and figure out what it is. What? Where'd
And
it go?
It vanished.
Vanished into thin air. That is exactly what aliens do.
Well, the robot's not incorrect. I think it's interesting too because that's what they said they saw. I mean, this is literally the Pentagon's on the Air Force pilots are on the news right now saying they're seeing bubbles, round spheres with cubes in them or something in them. They're not sure exactly what because they go flying by them so fast. And so that's interesting that they're portraying and they're saying they're UFOs and they need to follow them so they can record them. What else is going on here?
Yeah.
And this is like a purportedly Christian show.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it's all Bible stories.
The Bible.
Yeah, so what I showed you here was like the intro, and then after the Bible story, that's kind of the end of it, coming back to Chris and Joy. They're like the main characters. But yeah, so you have a Bible show, and then we're going to feed you some lines about chasing UFOs. It's great.
Yeah. It just reminds me of that funny meme where it's like they're showing all the UFO stuff, and it's like, okay, but how are we going to teach a kids Bible stories? Bible stories? It's like the guy responds like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not the intention here. So I think that is pretty wild. Are we going to see more from this show? Because I have questions if not.
There's one more if you want to.
Okay.
You can roll.
Yeah, let's see that then. Yeah.
What's happening? What is that?
We have seen a miracle. Great is the power of the Lord.
Where did he go?
Wow.
So for
Who's that
context
supposed to be?
sake, that's
Yeah, I was
Philip
gonna
and the
say.
eunuch. So when Philip is,
okay.
telling the eunuch what's going on in the scrolls, and he looks at the body of water and he says, well, I should be baptized. And so what you just saw was him being baptized, and then when he comes out of the water, according to the Bible, he disappears.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't say anything other than he just disappears, and then he reappears in a completely different city.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so they're taking it and twisting it. Like,
Yeah.
did he disappear or was he abducted?
Yeah, it
Well, you know
does
what's
say
interesting?
that,
I had never read this before until like recently. But Samson's parents, when they met, because an angel talked to them, and they made an offering to God, and the angel ascended in the flames. And I had never read that before. That's not something that I just ever, focused on all growing up. That was fascinating to read because it's like that's in God's word. It's what I'd have to find the verse. If somebody knows it offhand, but you can go look it
Ascended.
up. But yeah, so
Interesting,
yeah,
though,
I
because
think-
very specific. It says how the angel left. But then with Philip, it was very specific, too. It didn't say he ascended. It said he disappeared. So they're
Right, I
adding
have that right here.
some artistic liberty for sure.
We can get the scripture in right here. I got it, Acts 8:39. And when they were come up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord caught away Philip, and the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing. So yeah, it just says that the Spirit of the Lord caught him up. And I guess you could make the argument, oh, well, they're taking some artistic license here, and this is how we imagine he was caught up. But yeah, no, this seems more... So another person who was caught up was Elijah. And I have that in 2 Kings 2:11. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So that's more of the one that I'm familiar with, because I think that people who are, weirdly trying to tie in the Bible with their UFO beliefs will point to that and say, abduction! Look, Elijah got abducted right here. So... yeah, I think it's important. Yeah, if we are going to make media that portrays the Bible, just stick to the Bible, and what the Bible expressly talks about, because it is important. Not to try to take too much artistic liberty with what's going on.
I want to show this image.
Of all the clips, though, I think this one is the most benign. I think there's other deeper issues in some of the other. I mean, artistic license is one thing, but then aliens and UFOs and things, that's something else.
Benign.
I would agree.
I thought it was. Go ahead.
I would agree.
Or at least not ill intention, maybe. I don't know.
Right, but like if you put that scene alone, I agree with you. It's like, okay, it's much more benign. But then you have earlier in the episode. Is it the same episode? I'm guessing they're talking about aliens and chasing UFOs.
No, it's not the same episode at all.
Okay, but it's from like the same series. Well, that's the only thing that I can think of is if you can portray something and on its own, it's like, okay, that's not that bad. But if you're talking about UFOs and aliens, well, what do? People know they abduct things and they do it with a big beam of light and it sucks you up. So it's almost like you can put that in people's heads and then show them something. It's like, now we're not saying a UFO abducted him, but it just looks exactly like you would expect it to look if a UFO abducted him.
And it's the work of God.
It's tricky. Yeah, exactly. But
what really bothers me is like the blending of, religion and UFOs. So again, if that was alone on the show, it wouldn't be a big deal. But here, and all of these were taken from season 4 and 5. So it's like as the show progressed, are they trying to, pull up on the things that are popular in culture, or is there an agenda going on?
There's definitely I see that in a lot of different things, and I've been wanting to make a separate video just about this. If you listen to the music, if you listen to like a lot of times when a new artist comes out in music, they comes out and it's a benign song. It's not that big of a deal, but if you buy the album, 5th or 6th or 7th song in, when your brain is turned off and you're not listening for anything, all of a sudden they push a strong message. When, for instance, Disney makes a movie, I forget what it was. I think it was the first time I noticed it was Kung Fu Panda. The Follow Your Heart doesn't come out at the very beginning. It's halfway into the movie when he's like, you should follow your heart and to lead you to the right path. I mean, sure, there's a bunch of magic and all this other stuff in it, but the true music, the true weird stuff, I mean, that just sits in your mind and you forget all about it. If it's halfway into the song, halfway into the movie, halfway into the stuff, so when your mind's checked out.
Yeah, or for parents, if you start trusting an episode or a season, of a show, it's like, oh, well, this is a safe show. I can let my kids watch it without really having to guard myself. So then by the time season 4 and season 5 come out, you're like, oh, it's safe. And then you don't realize, oh, wait, they're being taught to chase after orbs in the sky. Like, why? Why?
You mentioned something a while ago. Oh.
Sorry.
You say what you know. You go. I'm going to go off on a rabbit hole. So.
It's great that we're talking about this because earlier today I actually... and this is kind of weird, but I went over the lyrics to Arthur, the show Arthur, and it's funny how that plays out because we'll listen. Well, I'll read it out. Every day when you're walking down the street and everybody that you meet has an original point of view. And I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day if you can learn to work and play and get along with each other. So like you're saying, Brad, like at first it's just like, oh yeah, like this is a fun little message. And then all of a sudden it takes this hard right turn to, you got to listen to your heart, listen to the beat, listen to the rhythm
Whoa.
of the street, open up your eyes. open up your ears, get together and make things better by working together. It's a simple message and it comes from the heart. Believe in yourself, because that's the place to start. And I say, hey, and then we just go back into it. Like, it's no big deal. But it's like, wait a second, what? What did this guy just say? I had to rewind it.
I didn't even know it said that. I knew the beginning of it. I didn't know that part.
Ecumenicalism.
That was like a bridge that I never learned.
Well, it's funny because Arthur especially came under fire because it did this whole thing where Arthur's teacher is gay, and then Arthur and his friends attend a gay wedding. It's just like a total mess. Yikes. But from the very start, I mean, this has been the theme song since the first episode. Mm-hmm. So you got to think, okay, what is really the intention all along? And I think it just speaks for itself.
Yeah. I want to acknowledge Travolt here in the chat. Is that how I say his name? Travolt? Thank you for the super chat. He says, I almost got Moloch vibes from the way he was bringing that child character up to the statue. Looked like he was about to throw him in the flames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate your super chat, man. That's the whole thing is strange. And I think especially today, as this whole UFO debacle unfolds, we're seeing more and more of that, even in our children, especially because you train up your children in the way they will go, and they will return to the way they were taught.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very, very, very difficult, especially as a parent. I don't envy you.
Yeah. And it's hard today because there's media everywhere. So, can you keep your children away from all shows? I would love to. Matthew, I salute you because you said your children haven't watched shows. I'm like, man, that's amazing. But on the flip side, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we don't have a television in our home.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
great.
just like totally foreign to them.
Yeah, well, we don't have cable. Yeah, so bets are off,
right? It becomes
right?
like, whoa. Well, yeah, I mean, we've been explicit. And fortunately, my mother-in-law, she's been good about that. Even though I don't think she has the same convictions that we do, we've made it very clear, like, yeah, we know it's Halloween or whatever, but don't let them bring skulls and witch stuff into my home. Like, that's totally out. Right, you can bring some pumpkins and we'll put them on the porch, but we're not cutting jack-o'-lantern style faces into them. It's like, you just got to draw a line. Essentially, you got to say, like, this is it. No further. We're just, these are the boundaries. And
yeah.
Well, at a certain point, people will call. So I'm gonna. That kind of segues into this. Matt, you might have made a wise decision. So everybody, you can look this up. I'll say it twice. It's U.S. patent US 6506148B2. Again, that's US 6506148B2. Nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. And so this is just something that is out that we know about. Physiological effects have been observed in a human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies, yada yada. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displaying pulsed images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. It is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of the subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby monitor or TV set. And then the very last sentence, for certain monitors, pulsed electromagnetic fields capable of exciting sensory resonances in nearby subjects may be generated even as the displayed images are pulsed with subliminal intensity. So this is just one of many, but this is the technology itself. And there's all kinds of, I'm sure, other darker stuff that you could go into, but we know that like music puts our brain in a certain state, and that's how the lyrics and the ideas that those lyrics represent get past our conscious filters. And the same thing with looking at any screen. I don't know the difference between the alpha and the beta and the theta or whatever, but it does something to our minds, and it can be used for good. But like you said, we have to be careful. And and
it's even been proven like children are more susceptible to that than adults are. So they say, I mean, it's bad for development of the brain regardless. So, yeah, you have to have so much discernment with all of this. I will say, you know, in the day and age that we live in, as our children get older, like you should potentially, you know, keep your children away from shows as long as you can, limit it as much as you can, have those firm boundaries. But when your kids become a certain age, in order to teach them discernment for when they become adults and they leave your side, or they're at like grandma's or friends' houses, if you allow them to do that, or wherever, you know, as they grow up and go to school and college, you have to teach them how to watch things and then, you know, judge for themselves. Should I be watching this or not, and why? So, you know, if you never let them watch shows at all, I feel like they're just going to have this weird, like, oh, you know, I don't watch anything. And then, I don't know, it's almost like, it reminds me of people that are in such a tight bubble when they're little. When they're adults, it's like they go hog wild and they're like addicts to
that was me.
And...
Well, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't want you don't want the first time that they're exposed or anybody's exposed to something to be when they're being tested with it.
Right.
It's like, you know, you prepare in advance with like something that's not going to hurt you, so that you've built up a I don't want to say resistance. That's like the wrong. Help me out here, Matt. What am I trying to say?
I don't know this time. What is it?
Okay, great.
Trying to build up a resistance. What, an awareness? You're trying to familiarize?
Just forget about it. It's over.
I want to bring up this patent that Eric brought up real quick. I think I finally got this. You put me on the spot, but I think I'm going to be able to do it. We're not going to be able to comment on it except for us two, because it's going to get rid of you guys' image. But so bye, just for a moment. This is what we were talking about. This is interesting. And wow, this is the first time I've heard about this, Eric. Nervous system manipulation of electromagnetic fields from monitors. This is the patent number from the United States. Look at this. It's got a person. I mean, this is the images they have to submit to the patent office. Has a person with what looks like a cathode ray tube sitting in front of them, which is a old school TV. And it even says VCR. Oh, good. You can put a tape of a certain frequencies in there and have it affect the person. Well, apparently they were looking to to do that. This is interesting. So it might be something to look into for a future episode, but I appreciate Eric pointing that out. That's fascinating stuff.
Well, look on the date of that, too. That's 2001. That's 22 years ago.
Yeah. They actually sell like all types of stuff now that you can put on your TV and put on your phone to try to block some of that stuff, but like, does it work? Did they just sell you a shiny sticker? I don't know.
Well, if it's like a subliminal messaging thing, it's how are you going to know? That's another creepy thing about this. I mean, we're watching and we're critically analyzing the things that we're seeing, but the stuff that they're talking about, subliminal stuff, I mean, it's being flashed on the screen so quickly. I remember when I was first waking up, my dad was a big U2 fan. He's from Ireland, so he loves U2, been to a lot of their shows. And so I listened to some U2 as well. But I started looking into, because they had this one, Zoo TV was the name of the tour. And it was just these big TV monitors and would flash different things across it really quickly. Well, there were people, specifically Good Fight Ministry, and they sold their souls for rock and roll. They paused on different just screens, and it was like 666 Satan, like all the wild stuff, the beast, and it's just like being flashed in though with like life and blah blah blah, and what, it's just all this stuff, and you have to ask yourself, what is going on when that is a part of your production? Because like we're talking about, these things are productions. Nobody just is saying, oh, let's just do whatever, and it happens to be there. There's intention behind what they're doing. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, we're going to roll this dice 3 times, and whatever numbers come up, that's what we're going to put on the screen. And it just so happened to come up 666.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a great story for Rolling Stones magazine, because all the interviews are like that. It's funny. I used to love music, and I would get like music trivia, and it's funny because you'll learn, like, Paul McCartney talks about Let It Be. How'd you come up with Let It Be, Paul? Oh, it came to me in a dream. Yeah, my mother, whose name was Mary, came to me, and I had the song fully formed when I woke up after my dream. I just sat down at the piano, and there it was. It's like, okay, for the discerning eye, you can clearly see this is a demonically just hand-delivered song. But other people will just say, wow, Paul McCartney, he's just so creative, he can't help but write music in his sleep. Yeah?
Yeah. It's good stuff. I feel
Is there any...
Sorry, no.
I was just going to say, are there any other clips, Wendy?
Nope. I had like a little image of an alien abduction just to kind of compare it to Philip, but that was a while back. So yeah, it's just kind of what it reminded me of. Like, have we seen that before? Philip's abducted. But yeah, so in these shows, I feel like it's not like overly blatant. They don't shove it in your face, but it's just like little by little. Like plant a seed of thought here, plant a seed of thought there. But overall, when your kid watches the show, what message are they getting? And generally, kids don't watch show once. You know, if they like a show, they want to watch it over and over and over. Right. So I feel like, yeah, we're shutting off that frontal lobe, and then we're subliminally putting in messages about chasing aliens and getting supernatural powers from meteorites, and yeah.
Heavy metal poisoning doesn't happen all at once. It's cumulative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a good analogy.
Very good. Well, unfortunately, since we already said that was our last clip, we have to close down pretty quick. So
I like to interact with the chat on Thursday nights. So if we want to look through the chat,
we
something
can,
we never
but
normally do. Unless you're too sleepy. Are you becoming a sleepy man?
We're 2 hours in already. We could interact with the chat a little bit, but I say we should do that next time. I'm tired, and I need to go to bed.
All right. Maybe next Thursday we'll kind of keep it light on the content so that we can interact a little more with you guys in the chat. So that goes for anybody who's watching this in the recording, or if you're still hanging around. Really, it is one of the really fun parts of a Thursday night is looking through the chats and seeing what you guys have said. And I've kept my eye on it. There's been some great comments, and unfortunately, haven't been able to address all of them. But please come back for next Thursday. Watch the Sunday show. It's a little more of structured and UAP centered typically, but this was the Thursday night program, and we love doing it. So thank you everyone for coming out. And Wendy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you feel like you'd like to pray us out.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time and being here with Brad on Strange Normal. Thank you for Matthew and Eric and the time that they've provided here with us too. Lord, we just pray that you would continue to guide us as your children and those that are watching, Lord, keep our eyes on you so that we can be focused on what's happening, Lord, from your perspective and what's happening in the world, in the Middle East and these rumors of wars. I pray that we would come to you for all of our peace and that we wouldn't have the fear that the world tends to soak up and highlight. Lord, I pray that you would bless the parents listening and bless the parents here, that we would have discernment of what goes on in our children's lives and what they're exposed to. And Father, I just pray that you would help us to lead our children truly in the way that they should go, that when they are old, that they will not depart from it, Father, and help us to be a light just to talk to other people, if other families are watching shows, just to kind of be the light of how to keep our children in your word and grounded in your truth. And God, we just thank you for this ministry again, and for those that are watching. We just pray that you would keep increasing the viewers and increase the audience, Father, so that this message can go far and wide before you return. And God, we love you, and we just pray that you would come soon. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you all. Thank you all for coming out and watching. We hit about 170 concurrent viewers tonight. That's fantastic. Nice. And we want to continue to do this. So if you want to join us, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you're notified when things like this happen, and you can be the first to know, because there's a lot more coming, and we're sure of it. Thank you, Wendy, for being out here. This is really a treat, and I hope you are out here more often, because anybody that is in the Tennessee area, that's in our Patreon account, and everything is welcome to be on the show. And it's neat to actually be physically in a studio and not just virtually.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Thank you, Eric, Matthew, and I don't know if you guys have any last thoughts.
Oh yeah, no, I think we're good to go. Do you have anything built out for the outro, Bradley?
Not just keep your camera safely rolling. I don't know. That's what
okay.
the guy used to say on America's Funniest Video.
Keep your camera safely rolling. Yeah, okay, that's not gonna work.
If you see a UFO, don't film it. Pray. Start praying. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? I got the outro for this, Bradley.
Do not say strange. I love you.
No, we are. You're strange. We're normal. This has been Strange Normal. Good night. Thank you. We love you all. We do.
God bless.
We love you.